Good evening, everyone. Today I want to talk about something we've all experienced in one way or another: silence. It's a small word with immense power. Silence can be peaceful, a sanctuary where we find clarity. But silence in relationships, that's where this story takes a turn. When we stop talking to someone, whether intentionally or unintentionally, we create a space. And what happens in that space says more about the relationship than the words ever could. That silence can speak louder than any argument, more profoundly than any apology, and more definitively than any goodbye. Silence, particularly in interpersonal dynamics, is often misinterpreted as an absence of action or communication. However, silence is a deliberate and active force that creates a unique environment for truth to emerge. Unlike spoken words, which can be filtered, edited, or strategically deployed, silence removes the clutter and forces all involved parties to confront the realities of the relationship. In its simplest form, silence creates space, literal and figurative, for reflection. When one person steps back from verbal engagement, it disrupts the rhythm of habitual communication, compelling the other party to confront the void left behind. This disruption is not merely an absence, it is a catalyst for introspection. In this quiet pause, individuals may begin to question their assumptions, evaluate their behaviors, and uncover truths about their intentions, priorities, or emotions that may have been previously overlooked. Silence also serves as a boundary-setting tool, highlighting unmet needs or unresolved tensions. For the person initiating silence, this space can serve as a moment of self-clarity. What are they hoping to achieve by withdrawing? Is it resolution, acknowledgement, or simply a reprieve? For the recipient, silence can be equally illuminating. Their response, whether it's an attempt to repair, an expression of frustration, or complete inaction, can reveal their investment in the relationship and their ability to handle discomfort. Moreover, silence creates a neutral ground where truth can surface unprompted. Without the pressure of immediate dialogue, defenses are lowered, and the subconscious has room to process. This often leads to a more authentic understanding of the situation at hand. For instance, in the absence of external prompts, individuals may come to terms with underlying fears, desires, or patterns that influence their actions within the relationship. In professional or personal contexts, the strategic use of silence often reveals whether the connection is built on mutual respect and understanding, or if it's a cessation by convenience and complacency. When the noise of constant communication ceases, the inherent strength or fragility of the bond becomes more evident. Silence forces both parties to sit with the discomfort of uncertainty, and it is in that discomfort that the most profound truths are often revealed. Thus, silence is not merely a void, it is an active, transformative space. It holds up a mirror, encouraging individuals to see what remains unsaid but deeply felt. When wielded intentionally, silence becomes a powerful mechanism to access clarity, authenticity, and the truth that words alone might obscure. Silence, especially in relationships, acts as a subtle but powerful test of emotional maturity. It reveals how individuals respond when the usual tools of communication, words, gestures, and explanations are taken away. How we navigate this space speaks volumes about our capacity for self-awareness, resilience, and empathy. When someone is faced with silence, their reaction can show their level of emotional regulation. Emotionally mature individuals understand that silence isn't necessarily a rejection or an attack. It can be a request for space, a signal of reflection, or even a silent plea for understanding. Instead of reacting impulsively, they take the time to process the situation, asking themselves why the silence exists and what role they might have played in creating it. This ability to pause and reflect is a hallmark of emotional intelligence. On the other hand, those who lack emotional maturity may interpret silence as a threat or an affront. They might react defensively with anger or frustration, or attempt to fill the silence with noise, be it accusations, demands, or meaningless chatter. Such responses often stem from discomfort with ambiguity or an inability to sit with their own emotions. These reactions highlight an individual's struggle to navigate uncertainty and a tendency to externalize their discomfort instead of introspecting. Silence also tests one's capacity for empathy. Emotionally mature individuals will use this silence as an opportunity to understand the other person's perspective. They might ask themselves, what are they feeling right now? Or what might they need from me? This mindset fosters compassion and connection, even in the absence of dialogue. In contrast, emotionally immature individuals might focus solely on their own discomfort or frustration, failing to consider the feelings or intentions behind the other person's silence. Furthermore, silence reveals how secure someone is in themselves and in the relationship. Emotionally mature individuals are often comfortable with periods of quiet because they understand that not every gap in communication is a crisis. They trust that the relationship is strong enough to withstand moments of pause. This security allows them to respond calmly and thoughtfully rather than jumping to conclusions or forcing resolution. Lastly, silence tests an individual's willingness to engage in personal growth. When faced with silence, emotionally mature people see it as an opportunity for self-examination. They ask hard questions. Am I listening enough? Have I contributed to this silence? What can I learn from this? They view the experience as a chance to grow rather than a problem to solve immediately. In essence, silence is a mirror for our emotional maturity. It reflects how we handle discomfort, how we relate to others, and how we navigate the complexities of relationships. The way we respond to silence isn't just about the other person, it's about who we are and who we're willing to become. Silence isn't just a pause, it's a proving ground for emotional growth and connection. Silence is one of the most reflective forces in our lives. When words stop flowing and the noise quiets down, we're left to face ourselves and our relationships in their rawest form. Silence acts as a mirror, reflecting back what is often hidden beneath the surface. It reveals truths we may have ignored, emotions we've suppressed, and dynamics we've avoided confronting. At its core, silence reflects our inner emotional landscape. When communication halts, we're forced to sit with our thoughts and feelings without the distractions of external validation or explanation. What arises in this stillness can be telling. Are we at peace or do we feel restless? Do we experience clarity or are we overwhelmed by doubts and fears? The way we respond to silence is often a direct reflection of our emotional health and the narratives we carry about ourselves and others. Silence also mirrors the state of our relationships. It reveals the strength or fragility of the bond. In a healthy connection, silence can be a moment of mutual respect and understanding, a space where both people feel safe to reflect and regroup. However, in strained relationships, silence can amplify feelings of insecurity, misunderstanding, or avoidance. If tension, resentment, or unresolved issues exist, silence will bring them to the forefront, making them impossible to ignore. Moreover, silence reflects unmet needs and boundaries. When someone chooses silence, it often signals that they need something: space, respect, acknowledgement, or time to process. For the person experiencing that silence, it can highlight their own reactions and coping mechanisms. Do they respect the silence or do they feel compelled to break it? Their response reveals whether they're attuned to the other person's needs or more focused on their own discomfort. Silence also mirrors our capacity for self-awareness. It provides a moment to ask deeper questions. What is this silence showing me? Am I avoiding a hard truth or am I discovering something valuable? For example, if silence feels unbearable, it may reveal a fear of loneliness or a struggle with uncertainty. If silence feels comforting, it might reflect a sense of inner peace and trust in the relationship or situation. In its most profound sense, silence is a teacher. It reflects not only the state of our relationships, but also the stories we tell ourselves about connection, love, and worthiness. Silence invites us to see ourselves and others more clearly, stripped of pretense and distractions. It's a moment to pause, observe, and learn. Ultimately, silence is never just empty space, it's a reflective surface that allows us to see what's truly there. It challenges us to confront both our strengths and our vulnerabilities, to understand the dynamics of our relationships, and to grow in self-awareness. When we embrace silence as a mirror, we gain the courage to face what we see and the wisdom to respond with intention and authenticity. In the end, silence is not just the absence of sound, it's the presence of truth. It's where our deepest fears and our truest intentions rise to the surface. Silence creates space, tests our resilience, and reflects who we are and what we value. The question isn't whether silence will happen in our relationships, it will. The question is how we choose to respond when it does. Do we lean into its lessons, or do we run from its discomfort? Do we run from its discomfort? Do we use it as a tool for growth? Or do we let it become a wall that divides us? So the next time you find yourself in the midst of silence, don't fear it. Embrace it. Look at what it's showing you, not just about the other person, but about yourself. Because silence, when we let it, can be the most honest conversation we'll ever have. Thank you.